Last night, I had promised you that I'll give you a detailed update on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the role of Narendra Modi in trying to bring about a rapprochement. Well, there are a lot of players involved in this, and this is a little bit complex, but I'm going to do my best to try and demystify things for you. On the one side, it is the United States that is underwriting the entire expense. On the other side, you have Russia, which has surprisingly stood up quite well to all the sanctions that the West has thrown at it. In fact, not only has it done that, now it seems to be outproducing armaments. The war is now more of an artillery in nature, as Russia and Ukraine both know that a ceasefire is imminent, and both are jockeying to try and get as much land as possible, so that when it comes to sitting down at the table to discuss the terms, both can say, okay, this far is what we are willing to give. So this is where things stand. In fact, this is the reason it is believed that Ukraine tried to go deep into Russia. I'm going to talk about that also. A small request to all of you to please like this video. We are presenting you with a whole set of maps obtained from various sources. So please like this video, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Here we go. Russia-Ukraine war. It's almost 30 months since this war has started. Initially, the Russians invaded from three different directions. One was from Belarus. They came in and they occupied Chernobyl. Then they also tried to enter from Kharkiv area. Third one was the Donbass area. In fact, before announcing the invasion, he had the two governors of Donetsk and Luhansk to come to Moscow and declare that they would like to merge with Russia. This is something that was there. There was a press conference. So you do know that these two provinces, there's a fairly large amount of liking for Russia, Mother Russia they call it. So that part we don't know how things stand. But I just want to start. This is where things were when the first invasion started. Now, after that, in March, there was the battle for Kyiv. Remember, there was a column of 64 kilometers long of trucks that wanted to come and march into Kyiv, but they were positioned a few kilometers outside. Then they realized that they did not have fuel trucks and they had to back. I don't know how they did it. I'm sure there was some sort of a deal done that we will not kill you as long as you tuck your tail between your legs and get back into Belarus. So that's what happened in that time. I don't fully remember what it was, but at that time I was rooting really strong for Ukraine, not understanding some of the underlying currents, especially with respect to what happened in the Maidan revolution in 2014. It is very reminiscent of what happened to Mujibur Rahman in 1970 elections in what was then East Pakistan. You can go and draw parallels. Today, we're just talking about what happened to this war and why is it that Ukraine was able to hold out and preserve Kyiv. Well, one of the main reasons given is that Putin had not really brought in all the powerful armed battalions into Ukraine. He just had some soft battalions, part-time recruits, if you will. These were the people who were sent in. They thought it would be an easy peasy war. Well, it did not turn out to be that way. It is 30 months now and people are still fighting. Then what happened? In September 2022, Ukraine did a counteroffensive. Ukraine launched a successful counteroffensive in the Kharkiv region. You can see the offensive with the direction arrows, reclaiming territory and shifting the momentum in its favor. The problem that Ukraine has, and I have all the legends down there, if you want to pause and look at where things were going. See, the problem that Ukraine has is its population of 44 million. And it is believed that close to 20 million have actually fled Ukraine to Poland and other neighboring countries. It is believed. It could be that they are still in the western side of the Dnipro River. Everything is happening to the right of Dnipro River, and it was my belief, and many people agree, that Russia wanted to have Dnipro River as the border between a reduced Ukraine and an increased or enhanced Russia. But that's not how things have panned out. Russia has to fight for every inch that they are getting. But at the same time, if you look at the overall picture, it appears that Russia is gaining the upper hand. How is it gaining the upper hand, you ask? For one thing, it is able to produce 3 times more artillery shells than what the United States and the West can provide to Ukraine. Ukraine needs some sort of a silver bullet to get out of the pickle that it has got into. I'm going to talk about that in just one moment as we come to the last slide, because that's where most of the interesting information is. So in September 2022, Ukraine counteroffensive in Kharkiv region, getting some parts. Then what happened was Ukraine wanted to go and recapture Kherson, which is in the southeast of Ukraine. This was a significant strategic victory for Ukraine, boosting morale and highlighting its military capabilities. But throughout all these things, they have been hemorrhaging fighting men. Now they don't have a lot of able-bodied men, and as to what will happen to the future of Ukraine, one can only surmise. I have no idea. I am very pessimistic about how Ukraine is going to survive and thrive again. So then what happened? There was a spring counteroffensive in summer 2023. So every time Ukraine lost, they wanted to come back and do a counteroffensive. As you can see here, there was counteroffensive in Bakhmut. They tried to get back Zaporizhzhia, which is a nuclear plant that currently Russia has under its control. They tried to get into Mariupol and Kherson and so on and so forth. Odessa is the only big city that is remaining in the south that Russia still has eyes on, because if it can capture Odessa and go all the way to the border, that means they would have cut off Ukraine from any access to the sea. That is the goal, I think, of Russia. But this is not happening quickly. It's happening, 1 square kilometer at a time, something like that. Then what happened? Ukraine tried to liberate some territories, especially in Luhansk and Donetsk area, and they claim that they have got about 60 to 70% of these two regions back, with separatist held region of Donetsk and Luhansk still there, just a little bit. Remember that this is all information from the West. There could be a little bit of a departure from reality. On the ground, it is possible that Russia has more control and more area under its occupation. Now, this was the last big effort that Ukraine tried. Ukraine attacked deep into Kursk region of Russia, but what happened was Putin allowed them to come in and then cut off the supply chain. And it is believed most of the 13,500 of the troops that went in, these were elite Ukrainian troops, and they think that not more than 1,000 are going to survive this. It has been a massacre there, and the reason they went in there was because Kursk has a nuclear power station, and what the Ukrainians were bargaining for was that they would get control of Kursk nuclear station, and then they could have an even exchange. Give us back Zaporizhzhia and we will give you back Kursk. I think that was what Ukraine was hoping for. Unfortunately, things are not working out that way. So we have to wait and see when and where the ceasefire talks are going to begin. And once they begin, where will things go? One thing is, Putin has laid down 3 preconditions before even sitting down for ceasefire. And I don't know if Ukraine is also going to come up with 3 preconditions of its own. If there are preconditions before talk, then you can imagine how long it will take before they actually sit down for ceasefire negotiations. So very sad situation. It is possible that once Trump comes in, he just calls off the funding and then Ukraine will be completely collapsing. But then what happens to all the deep state investment in Ukraine? They have got all these oil, the mineral rich fields, the agricultural fields, and many other things. Who's going to harvest them for them? All questions and no answers. So deep state also has got itself into a bit of a mess, which makes me wonder, why is it that US has got the hots for India right now? Because it should be really aiming at China. Why, you ask? Remember, I told you that Russia is producing 3 times more artillery than the West. It's because China has given them all the gunpowder. There has been a massive export of this from China into Russia, and as to what price China is going to extract from Russia, one can only guess. At this point of time, Russia is able to outproduce the West because of help from China. So who should the guns be trained at? China or India? Why is the US making this huge blunder? Waste of taxpayer money. Gentlemen and ladies, if you have the answer, please give it by way of comments. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.